Hi, Floppycatters. I'm so happy to have Dr. Pamela Dragos back. I just asked her how to pronounce her last name again, how she prefers to have it pronounced. So it's Dragos. And she's been a veterinarian for 35 years and specializes in holistic veterinary medicine. She's certified in acupuncture, Chinese herbal medicine, and veterinary medical manipulation, also known as chiropractic. Dr. Dragos focuses on integrative care, considering the physical, emotional, and dietary factors affecting a pet's well-being. She offers telehealth communicate or consultations and creates personalized treatment plans using various holistic therapies. She is the president of the American College of Veterinary Botanical Medicine and has taught veterinary acupuncture. Thank you for being here.
Thank
Um,
you,
I,
Jenny.
I'm
Great to be
excited to
here
have you
again.
back.
Yeah,
There's actually a list of topics that I want to talk to you about, but today we are going to talk about kittens.
kitties. Kitties are wonderful. Kittens,
Yes.
kittens are so fun. And what we do now, or the recommendations now, are so much different than they were before for kitty
I
cats. Like we know
yeah,
so much more about them. Um, but there are
yeah,
things that we don't know, so we'll go over that.
okay. So my interest in reaching out to you about this was twofold. I had just been with a litter of kittens from the day they were born to the day that they were going to go home. So about 14 weeks. And so I watched their progress and everything. And then I lost one of my cats 8 months ago. And so the thought of having a kitten was also in my head. And I was like, gosh, how would I approach it now? Like 15 years later, like it would be totally different based on how I care for my cats now than I did then. So thank you. I'm very excited to hear what your recommendations would be.
Yeah. So where do you want to start?
Um, let's start with how do you choose a kitten? Like what what do you look for, personality, looks, etc.
Well, I mean, you're going to resonate with certain breeds or colors or patterns. Um, and so, people generally like certain looks to kitty cats. And there's so many different ones that, you have unlimited choices. So you've got like
Yes.
the Siamese and the ragdoll and just your tabby cat or your black cat. So you can whatever you like. I mean, they're everywhere, right? Um, and then you want to look at personality. So, you've got on one extreme, you've got your feral cats that are just not gonna not gonna be your lovey-dovey cat. So you have to know how to deal with that kind of behavior. Um, and then you've got your scaredy cats, but generally you want to look for a confident cat, an outgoing, confident cat that's sweet and gentle but confident. Um, and you also want to look for healthy kitties. So does the hair coat look good? Do the eyes look clear? Are the ears clear? Do they look like they're in good condition, and alert and active and interacting? So general health kind of stuff.
Yes.
And then where are you going to get the kitty cat? Are you going to go to a shelter? Are you going to go to a breeder? Or your neighbor that had kittens in the backyard? Who knows? So you have to think about where to get a kitty cat.
Yes. One thing I would add to your list of ears, eyes, nose, etc., is look on the backside too.
Yep, the bum.
Because somebody just wrote me about how when they got their cat's 11 months old, it's had chronic diarrhea its whole life, and he even came home with it. So
Holy cow.
I
They
know.
need, yeah, they need to look into things a little bit.
Yes, and she is. So I'm happy
Wow.
for that.
Yeah. And
Uh,
that's where the things that you need to check, even if the kitty cat doesn't come with something like diarrhea, you still need to check a stool sample with your vet. So that would be the next thing is, you know, once you get this kitten, what do you do? You need to have a veterinarian look at the kitty and check the heart and the lungs and the abdomen and things that you don't necessarily know to check or how to check. Um, so a vet check is good. Bringing in the poop sample to check for worms is ideal. Um, and maybe something like a leukemia FIV test, which is a blood test.
Okay. So, okay, let's say I adopt a kitten. We don't know from where. And I'm gonna bring him home next Tuesday. What, like, how soon should I go see the vet?
I would ASAP as soon as you get the kitty.
Okay. So ask the either that day or the next day, ask the vet if they have an appointment.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The sooner you know, especially if you have other kitties in the house,
Yes.
because you don't want to bring something home. You don't want to bring like a respiratory infection home
Yes.
and give it to your other kitties.
Yes.
So yeah, the
That
sooner
is
the better.
something that I think a lot of folks struggle with because they're so excited to introduce the new kitten to their existing pets. Um, but it's so crucially important to give that kitten time to warm up to your house and also get it cleared medically before you
Mhm.
bring. Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree.
kind of like a quarantine. You
Yes.
do like a 10-day quarantine, and that will help with, making sure the kitten is healthy. Plus, it's going to get them socially, um, or ease them into the household with the other cats socially. You're going to have to give it at least 10 days, if not more. It's going to take a while to integrate a new kitten into a household of other cats or cats.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, it's honestly good to have the kitten looked at before you even take it home.
Oh,
I've had people do that where they go pick up the new kitten and they have their vet appointment and they go right there. It's like a pre-purchase exam kind of thing.
okay. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Huh. Um, Back to the quarantine thing real quick before I forget. If you do not have any existing pets, I still think a quarantine period is important to, like, for example, when I brought my cats home, my now still living cat, he was done with my bedroom within an hour. And then he wanted access to the whole upstairs and he was done with that in 2 hours. And then he wanted access to the whole house. Whereas the other one that passed, he didn't move from underneath that bed for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I think it really matters on their personality. Would you
Hmm.
agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So you had, a scaredy cat and then you had a really confident cat on the
Yes.
other extreme. And that's fine. I mean, both of them are fine. They're just different personalities and you just have to roll with it.
Yes.
And you start slowly and adjust to what they feel like they can do.
Yes. I also think that gives you perspective when you're in that what I call a safe room with them. You, for example, when I was visiting that litter of kittens from 0 to 14 weeks, you forget when you've had an adult, senior, geriatric, whatever you call 15 and a half year old cats, how nuts kittens are and like what they get into and what they can crawl under and all that kind of stuff that I'm like, woof, I don't know if my house is even kitten proof.
Right.
So,
Yes.
yes.
And you'll find out pretty quick if your house is kitten proof because
Yes.
they'll get into it if it isn't. So
Right?
yeah, so it's baby proofing, you got to plug those
Yes.
outlets and hide those cords and the strings for the shades. Everything has to be secured, and things on shelves because they're going to get on shelves. Yeah.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Uh, yeah. Okay. So, what are first steps when bringing home a new kitten? We've talked about vet checkup. What are your thoughts about vaccinations, deworming, microchipping?
Um, well, is it going to be an inside cat or an outside cat? So that's a big question because you're going to do very different things if the cat's going to go outside and roam. And a lot of cats don't these days. People know that that's dangerous because of not only diseases, but just trauma, cars, dogs, other cats, that kind of thing. Um, so as far as vaccines, there are core vaccines for your kitten. And the core vaccine would be your FVRCP, your rhinotracheitis, panleukopenia, calicivirus. And that's a core vaccine. And basically I do two of those. I do one at about 8 weeks and then another at about um, 12 or 13 weeks. Um, and then that's it for your kitten. Um, if the cat's going to go outside, you may want to add feline leukemia vaccine. But that's not a core vaccine at this point for all cats. And then rabies at about 6 months, if it's required by law. And a lot of states, it's not required by law.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, not
Huh.
for cats. For dogs, it is, but cats, it's kind of a gray zone. So if you've got an inside cat, you honestly don't have to.
Wow. Huh.
Yeah,
That's interesting. I think I'm in Kansas City, so I think both Missouri and Kansas require it. How about Arizona?
I don't think Arizona does. Last time I looked, not for cats.
Huh. Where do you look for like because I feel like, in all the Facebook groups and stuff that I'm in, everyone's like, my vet says it's required, and so is there a place to check?
Oh, you'd have to check with your county. So it would be with the county licensing.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
think people just assume that because it's required for dogs, so they probably assume it's required for cats, but not always.
yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Okay.
then rabies and leukemia vaccines are the ones that have the most the worst side effects down the line, with vaccine sarcomas and cancer related to the vaccines. Leukemia and rabies are the ones that are causing that. So we have to be careful. I mean, the middle of the road is just to do a rabies vaccine at 6 months and call it good because the rabies vaccine lasts a lot longer than they tell you.
Yeah. So do you titer after that, or what do you do?
Yeah, at a year of age, you can start titering. And
Okay.
that is for your peace of mind because no one's going to look at your paper and say, "Oh, okay."
Right.
It's for
Um,
you.
unless you're working with a very conventional vet that's requiring that. Um, because even in my situation, like Charlie's 15 and a half, the last time he got a rabies vaccine was when he was 11. So he's
Mhm.
already way overdosed with it. Um, and we go to a chiropractor who works out of several different offices, and those offices require him to be vaccinated.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I had to get a letter from my vet saying this cat had feline hyperesthesia. He's no longer getting vaccines. And that was fine with them. But I think that there are those issues out there is
Yeah.
why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to get a vaccine waiver or to get them to accept a vaccine waiver.
Yes,
Like,
yes. And it was actually my veterinarian that said no more vaccines for this guy because of his feline hyperesthesia. And I was like, oh, okay, great.
yeah, because
Um,
that's a neurological problem, and rabies is
yes,
a neurological vaccine, so it's going to make any neurological problem worse.
yes. Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
deworming. What do you think
yeah,
about that?
I think checking for worms is good. Deworming, I am okay with, with something like Panicure, some of the mild things, the fenbendazole or Panicure, um, to get your common worms. I don't do like the spot on stuff, like the revolution and stuff like that, because there's too many side effects with that. But Panicure, I'm okay with. And then checking several poop samples with your vet.
Okay. How do you feel about microchipping?
If it's an inside cat, eh, yeah. I mean, there's pros and cons to microchipping. I mean, some people think that it's a nidus of bad energy, but it can return your cat. So, what you have
Yeah.
to weigh the pros and cons.
That's a tough one. Um,
I just saw a post on one of the microchip companies went out of business and all the records are going away. So everyone that has that kind of microchip has to get on it and because it's not in the system anymore.
yes, I saw that too. I
Yeah.
don't like the idea of a foreign body in my animal. So I'm not a big proponent of it. But like a month ago, there was a loose dog on my street and she had no collar, no tags whatsoever, and I had no idea who she belonged to. She was very friendly, got her in my backyard and was like, "What do I do?" What I can't bring this dog inside. She can't stay outside overnight. Like, what do I do? And my neighbor across the street took her and got her scanned and she had a microchip and we got her home, 2 hours later. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
But
But so it's all individual. I mean, if you've got a little scaredy cat that's never going to get out the door,
right.
then why take that? Why do it?
Yes,
It's not
yes,
necessary. Whereas if you have one that's roaming, yeah, it may be necessary. So it's all very individual for your little kitten.
yes. Okay, so let's say I am a brand new client. I've never had an animal in my life, and I'm getting my first kitten, and I come and see you, and we've already talked about everything we just talked about. What do you suggest? Okay, I've come to you. My first stop is to you. Now I'm headed home. What do you suggest I do?
Well, you have to be ready for a new kitten. So, and you'll have time because you're going to have the kitten in a small area to get them used to the house. But you have to have all your supplies, your litter box and your litter and your cat toys and your scratching post and kitty grass and or whatever you want the cat to do to keep the cat out of trouble. So you have to have all your supplies um, for the new kitten because it's really important. We've already gone through like the medical stuff and the exam and the vaccines, but then socially, you're the mama cat now. So it's time for you to bond with your kitty cat. And the way the mama bonds with her kitten is she grooms the face and then down the side. So when you have a new kitten, you look at their little face and you just, pet the side of the face and, like the mama cat would clean the little kitten's head, pet the face and then down the sides of the body and just bond with your little kitten. And you become the mama kitten and um I don't know who's at my door. Fortunately, my kid's here. But so um you can really bond with your kitten like that by knowing what a mom kitten does. And that's one of the things they do is they do the grooming and then they to when a kitten is doing something wrong or what you don't want them to do, climbing the curtains or something, the mama cat would go over and pick the little baby up and move it very calmly. Just pick it up and move it to someplace where it's supposed to be. And then they start to get it. Instead of all, we don't need to, say no or shake a can of pennies or, all the stuff that scares them. It's just not necessary. So if you want
Yes,
a nice, well-adjusted kitten, you act like the mama and just redirect and do a lot of grooming and be there.
yes,
I think
yeah,
that's important. So yeah, so socially, and then part of being there is giving the kitten what it needs. So cats instinctually want to hunt, which is that the pouncing behavior and the chasing the toys. So the hunting behaviors are important. So we want to encourage that with the toys or do that with them. Because that's part of their instincts and they need to get that, they need to do that for um, good emotional health. So hunting, hiding. So they need hiding places, and usually it's up. So shelves and tops of things. So or high scratching posts where they can go up. So your house is not only where you are, but it's also up. So it's vertical. So you need to think about all that. And there's those fun super highways for cats where people make the shelves at the top and they
Yes.
go all around. Um, so so hiding or even just in the closet, if they hide in the closet, that's normal. They hide from predators and that's an instinct. And then marking, like with marking with their claws, their scratching posts, that's a marking behavior. That's normal. So we need to give them an outlet for all these normal behaviors and not try to stop it. Because when you try to stop it, then you cause problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's see.
What
Hiding.
what would I feed the kitten?
I do fresh food right off the bat. So, I mean, if they had been on something before, you'll probably have to do a little transition. So, whatever they were on before, you'd get some of that and transition. But the best foods are your fresh food diets that are either raw or gently cooked. And so I like All Provide. They have kitty foods, both raw and cooked. Um, there's another one called Goodness Gracious. So I like the raw foods and the gently cooked foods, and their fresh food diets with no synthetic vitamins. And I
Yes.
stay away from the kibble and I stay away from the traditional canned foods because they're a problem. That's what's causing a lot of our problems in our pets.
Yes. So you mentioned a transition. How do you normally suggest to a client how to transition?
Usually I'll do like 75% the old food and 25% the new food for 2 or 3 days, and then go to 50-50 for 2 or 3 days, and then, 75-25 opposite for 2 or 3 days, and then full on. And it can take a week or it can take 2 or 3 weeks because depending on what the poop looks like, you're going to know that, the transition is going too fast if you get some loosey goosey. But you can do things. I mean, you can add a little pumpkin to help prevent that. You can add a little slippery elm powder or colon rescue, which is basically marshmallow root and slippery elm, to help with the transition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What common mistakes do new kitten owners often make?
What mistakes?
What common mistakes?
Oh,
Sorry,
common
I need to blow
mistakes.
my nose.
Here.
Terrible. Oh,
All right. So common problems.
yes,
First of
our
all, diet.
mistakes.
Yeah, mistakes. First of all, diet, because diet is your foundation of health. Like that's the number one um, foundation that makes a huge difference on the kitty cat's entire life. Because
Yeah.
the immune system, 70 to 80% of the immune system is in the gut. So you need to take care of the gut by feeding your kitty cat appropriate species appropriate food, which is fresh food that's balanced for kittens, yeah, and doesn't have a lot of junk in it and is not heat processed, which is what the problem is with our kibble and canned. It's the heat processing that they used and the bad ingredients that ruins it. So,
Yes.
so diet is huge. We don't just grab a bag of food from the shelf at, the big box stores and put it in the bowl and leave it. And when you do your fresh food diets, you can't really leave it out because it gets all crunchy and gross. So then you do like feedings. And with little baby kittens, you might be doing 4 to 6 feedings a day of little amounts.
Yeah.
And then you give more at a time and less feedings as they get older. So diet is huge, and that is a common mistake because that will set the kitten up for a good, healthy life. Or if you do, the kibble and canned food, it sets them up for problems in the future. So that would be the biggest one.
Okay.
The
What?
other mistake would be over vaccinating.
Yes, and I was going to ask you, like, if you adopt it from a shelter or a rescue that's already over vaccinated it, like, what are your
Well, you're done.
options?
Yeah, I wouldn't, you don't need to vaccinate it anymore.
Okay.
So your options would be like if it's been recent, you can do some um like homeopathics for vaccinosis, like your Listen and your Thuja, depending on where they are in that. You can do some detox with the homeopathics, or like milk thistle for liver and dandelion for kidney and liver. So I mean, there are things that you can do to detox from all that
Yeah.
if it looks like it's a problem. Yeah.
Okay. When you were talking about the vaccines that you would give earlier, would you space those out to like not give two vaccines in one day?
Correct.
Okay.
So just the FVRCP, so your rhinotracheitis, um, calicivirus, panleukopenia, you just do one of those and you booster it in a month. And then at 6 months, you do a rabies if you need to. And that's it. You just do one at each visit. And if you're
And are
gonna
you
do
in
leukemia,
agreement with putting it in legs?
oh, they do that with rabies and leukemia because those are the cancer causing vaccines. Like they will induce cancer in randomly. Um,
Yeah.
the vaccine sarcomas, and what they're recommending is, yeah, do it on a leg. And that's the thinking there is, if it does cause a sarcoma, you can amputate the leg, which is a
Yes.
horrible thing. I mean, so why do it? Dear me. They were even saying, do the vaccine on the tail. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. Like, how am I going to do a vaccine on the tail?
Yes.
I mean,
An
there's like,
ow.
I know, I know.
Like that's like getting a vaccine in your finger. Ow.
I'm not doing.
Um,
Yeah, so they
yeah.
try to do it on the leg, as low on the leg as possible. So if something happens, they can amputate. So let's just prevent things from happening.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Okay, so that's if you get a shelter cat. If you're gonna get a cat from a breeder, like, would you suggest that they have genetic testing done on the breeding cats? Or, like, does it matter what the breeding cats are being fed? Like any of
Hmm?
that?
Oh yeah, so you want to ask a lot of questions with breeders. So, and one of the things that is relatively easy to do and will tell you a lot about the breeder is to ask for references and call them. Call people that have had their kittens. And if they won't give
Yes.
you references, that's a red flag.
Yes.
So, and the parents, you want to know if they're certified in something. So if they have like an issue, like a genetic issue in that particular breed, like with ragdolls, they can have polycystic kidney disease. You want to, make sure that the parents and the grandparents, there was nothing like that in the line, or even this, siblings and other litters. So you want to have them certified if possible in whatever genetic test would be indicated for the breed. Um,
Yes.
and then you do want to know, what the parents ate and what the kittens ate or are eating. Um, if they've been checked by a vet and if the vet noticed anything. Um, a lot of breeders will give you a health guarantee, which you're going to be attached to the kitten before
Yes.
before um yeah, usually people don't even use the guarantee because you're so attached. Even if they have a problem, you're going to take care of them. So,
Yes. Yeah.
and some cats are registered, so there are cat registries, so you can find a breeder that is registered, the parents are registered with one of the associations.
Yeah.
And you want to know about vaccine status of the parents and the kittens because FIP can be an issue in catteries, so we have to kind of be careful with that. That's kind of where the quarantine comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a pickle, but there are better treatments now for FIP, fortunately, that are
Yes.
out there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you also want to know, did they deworm the kitten already or did they check for worms? Yeah. So there are a
Yeah.
lot of things you'll ask a breeder that they should know and they should be able to give you all that information, like what vaccines and what dewormer and when did they go to the vet and who the vet was? And you can get records a lot of times.
Yes. Yes. So you mentioned FIP. What are some common health concerns in kittens and how can you prevent them? Like upper respiratory infection, parasites,
So
leukemia virus.
yeah, so sometimes kittens come with problems. They can have worms from where they came from or that are passed, across the placenta and through the milk. So they can come with parasites or worms. They can come with external parasites like ringworm. Um, they can even come with a viral infection because that can be passed. So that's where testing comes in. So, and a vet check. Because a vet will check and maybe there's a bald spot that looks like ringworm and you didn't even notice it.
Yes.
So, a
Yeah.
checkup, checking the poop and doing the blood tests for the viral diseases.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are, like I mentioned that diarrhea thing earlier, what are some natural ways to address common kitten ailments like diarrhea or like feline herpes?
Okay. So, diarrhea would be um, things that we talked about with the diet transition. So, slippery elm and marshmallow root powder, or colon rescue, which comes in a powder or a liquid that has slippery elm and marshmallow root for just like general diarrhea.
Who makes
Um,
that? Animal Essentials or?
yeah, animal essentials. Yeah, it's a nice product. And or just a little pumpkin in the food, just a little bit can help regulate the diarrhea. Maybe some probiotics. That's helpful. Um, and
I've had success with bentonite clay with diarrhea.
yeah.
I think it depends on what's causing it, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, and you kind of have to look into what's causing it. Is it just simply a diet change or is it parasites or what is it? And
Yes.
you look at with the kitten, you're going to look for more parasite issues than, you know, they're too young for things like food sensitivities and, that and IBD. So you have to look at the kitten problems.
Yes. Pumpkin is usually my go-to, by the way, but
Yeah.
I just after you listed all those, I was like, also clay it has worked for me.
Yeah.
What advice do you have regarding the timing of spaying and neutering?
So we know more about dogs than we do cats on this issue. And so right now, um, with kitty cats, it's best to wait till they're sexually mature. So they've gone through some the maturation process, and usually by about 9 months they're mature. And they've had some hormones kick in and um, have an impact on them. And then usually at about 9 months is when we're spaying and neutering.
Okay. With a male, my cats came early spayed and neutered, or early
Yeah,
neutered
and
since they're
most
male.
do. Most
Yeah.
do.
And they were desexed very early on. But because I'll have more cats in my life, I've thought about that. And one thing that I would want to prevent for sure would be spraying.
Hmm.
So, can they spray before 6 or 9 months?
Yeah, they can. So that's the risk. I mean, that it usually starts like 6 to 9 months. So when they've got those hormones going.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a trade-off.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I think somebody told me once upon a time that you can just kind of watch them, and the second that you see that kind of behavior where they're like facing a place to spray, that you're like, okay, it's time, even if it's at 6 months or if it's at 11 months. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I don't know if I could get a vet appointment that fast for a neuter, but interesting.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I wonder if you could use peel away, with the pheromones, because that's for the marking behaviors. I wonder if you could do that preemptively
Yes.
and try to
Yeah.
prevent that behavior while you wait to have the neuter done.
Yes. Huh. When do you like let's say you have a kitten, you've had it for, I don't know, a month and it's been doing well, you've seen the vet and all that stuff. It gets diarrhea or it gets you know, some crap in their eyes. When do you go to your vet or when do you like try to figure it out on your own? Like give it pumpkin and it doesn't resolve in how many days, and when do you go?
I actually recommend that if you're worried about it, you take it to the vet because you can do things yourself and take your kitty cat to the vet. So that if there is something serious going on and you didn't realize it, they'll pick it up most likely. And meanwhile, you can get started on some home remedies for the diarrhea. But it's always good to check
Yes.
because, if you wait till it's really bad, it's harder to turn around,
Yes.
if what you're doing doesn't work. So I always recommend, if you're worried about something, make an appointment or go into
Yes.
an urgent care and just find out if it's a problem or not. Because it's so much better to catch things early than to wait till it's bad.
Yes. Yes. I also am always surprised. A conversation I was having the other day with someone, they were switching the cat's litter like every week. They were not consistent with the brand or the type. Like they were going from wood pellets to clay to corn clumping.
Yeah, that's
Um,
stressful for the kitty cat.
yes. And so you start having, and if you're also using scented litter, which I cannot stand, um, and you start having upper respiratory issues, then that is going to be one of the reasons for that.
Mhm. Yeah.
What are some, so one of the things that I think about, and if I were to like take on your job, one of the things that I think is most difficult for you, and maybe a little less difficult if you're visiting them in your home, because I have a cousin who transitioned from a brick and mortar veterinarian to one that, where she does home visits. And I was like, how's that work out? Like, isn't it kind of hard to like get out of there for your next appointment? And she's like, yes, it can be, but the nicest thing is I can be like, that's why that dog was doing that, or that's why that cat was doing that, because I see what's going on in the house. But I think there's so many things that people aren't aware of that are toxic in their house to kittens
Oh
or
gosh, yeah.
cats.
Yeah.
Um, can you
And to
name a couple?
you.
Yes, yes, yes. I had one of the things on the feline hyperesthesia group is that it's really important, that Charlie started reacting to my laundry detergent. And
Uh-huh.
so I got rid of it and then had to wash everything in the house. Then he
Mhm.
had the reaction again, and I was like, what? I washed everything. And then I realized that the mop pads, because I have a steam mop, I had not, so they were still in the old laundry detergent. So anyway, it's a canary in a coal mine for me
Mhm.
that if he's reacting, I'll eventually react
Yep,
too.
there are sentinels. They're going to let us know. And people don't realize, the scented candles and the plug-in air fresheners and all that stuff and plastics are toxic.
Yes. So what do you suggest? Um, I mean, is that a conversation that you have? Like, do you have any plug-in air fresheners? Do you use scented laundry detergent? Like, do you worry about those things from the get-go?
Mhm. Yeah, so usually that would be like on an intake form.
Oh,
So you
okay.
you would have a form for them to fill out for their new kitten, and that's a question that can go on that because sometimes people don't realize. I mean, a lot of times people don't realize that that's an issue, and
Yes.
it's eye-opening, and
Yes.
it'll prevent problems down the line.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say that I've moved to a new city and I'm also getting a kitten, but I have no idea about veterinarians in that city. Where would you go to find a recommendation?
The Nextdoor app.
Okay.
That's what I tell people. I'm like, ask your neighbors. Ask,
Yes.
get on the Nextdoor app and find out where they're going, and they'll give you references right there. So I just ask around. If you know people, or Nextdoor app is really easy to ask, or Facebook or something.
Yes.
Just see in your area because you want someone in your area, or you want a house call vet or something, someone that is in your service areas that can come to you, or it's not too far to go because kitties don't do well with car rides and vet visits anyway.
Yes. Yeah. I remember my vet when I got my cats was like, you can bring them in anytime. Just bring them in, let them get used to the clinic, so that they don't find this place to be a fearful place. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I didn't do it because who has really the time to do that? But it was an interesting suggestion, that
Yeah,
I was like,
just bring
huh,
them in and put them on the scale and hang out
yes,
a while and leave. Yeah,
yeah.
I honestly think that works better with dogs than cats. Cats are a little smarter than that. They,
That's
they
great.
um they
Um,
no, they don't forget. I mean, some dogs will forget like a shot or a vaccine, but cats they won't forget. Like they'll be like, I know what happened the last time I was here.
yes,
So,
yes,
and then they smell it. I mean, dogs do too, but cats, they smell fear hormones, fear pheromones. So, and there's fear at vet clinics. I mean, animals are scared. If they're injured or sick, they're scared and they let off this smell, and we can't smell it, but other dogs and cats can smell it.
yeah,
And that's the thing. And then your cat turns into, a different cat when they go to the vet because they're inundated with all these pheromones that we don't realize.
yes, yep.
Yeah, so I like house call vets. If you can
I've not
find
ever used one.
Yeah, if you can find someone that'll come to your house, that's so nice. And it's hard sometimes because they're booked. Because a lot of people want house call vets,
Yes,
and it's
yeah,
convenient too. You don't have to go anywhere.
yes. That is very nice. Um, okay, back to food real quick. How often do you feed a kitten and what times and all that kind of stuff?
Well, your little baby kittens are going to be like 4 to 6 times a day because
Yes.
you're going to be feeding fresh food. And I actually have a new puppy, and I just kind of and I'm feeding him. He's like 8 weeks old, and I'm feeding him 4 to 6 times a day. And I kind of watch him, and I can tell in 2 days I know the pee pee whine, the poo poo whine, and the I'm hungry whine. So I kind of watch him. I'm like, yep, it's time for another meal. So if you can do a schedule, great. But I also kind of keep my eye on them, and be aware that it's time. He's
Yes.
he's hungry and then he takes a nap. So 4 to 6 times a day. And so when your kitten's up and looking around or chewing on something, maybe they're hungry. So feed them, right?
Yes.
It's like being a mom. You just have to figure it out. Pick up those cues. But yeah, your
Yes.
little guys are going to eat 4 to 6 times a day, and you'll know if they're hungry or not. I mean, they're going to leave food if they're not terribly hungry, but still, they need to eat frequently because their metabolism is so fast and they're growing so fast, and they're probably doing things fast all over your house. So yeah,
Yes.
so with like, 8 to 12 week old kitten, you're going to feed them 4 to 6 times a day, and then you're going to decrease. By the time they're 6 months old, they're going to be on food like 2 or 3 times a day.
Okay. What do you think about like overfeeding or underfeeding? Like, how can you feed a kitten too much if you're feeding raw or gently cooked?
I don't think so because it's the carbs in the commercial kibble and canned foods that are causing the weight issues. And with your fresh food diets that are protein and fat and just some carbs, that's not causing obesity and weight problems. And so
Right.
you can usually tell, you can look at an animal and tell what they're being fed. I mean, when I
Oh,
look at an
100%.
animal, yeah, I can tell if they're eating kibble and or canned or if they're on a fresh food diet. The fresh food
Yes.
diet pets are just lean and muscular and healthy looking, and there's like no fat. So,
Yes.
you know, and they don't get that, it's the carbs they get addicted to, and they eat and they overeat. And
Yes.
when you don't start that way, they don't overeat. They just eat what they need. And that, the hunger just shuts off when it needs to, when they're full. They don't overdo it. So it's really hard to overfeed when you're on healthy diets.
Yes. Yes, I agree. One of my top tips when most commonly that I'll get is, I have a new kitten, but it's keeping me up all night. I just want to sleep. I'd say a cat's routine is to hunt, uh, or play, hunt, eat, groom, and sleep. So right before you go to bed, play with them, put down the food, and then they'll groom and sleep. That's something that I feel like a lot of people aren't aware of, and that
Hmm.
will help you tremendously with a youngster.
Yeah. Yeah, because they need those frequent meals, and then
Yes.
that makes them sleepy after that.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yes.
stopping the feeding at 5 o'clock is just not appropriate for a little baby.
Yes.
They can't make it 12 hours overnight.
Yes. When you mentioned your new puppy is what made me think about that. Like it eats and then goes and sleeps. And I was
Uh,
like, oh yeah, I need to bring that up. Because that's a great one.
yeah.
Um, okay. What are ways to avoid dentals later on in life?
Well, back to diet. So being on a healthy diet without a lot of carbs will prevent a lot of dental problems because the carbs turn to sugar in the commercial from the commercial kibble and can turns to sugar in the mouth and rots the teeth. And that's why we're doing so many dentals on pets now that are on crappy food because it rots the teeth.
Yes.
So it comes down to diet. Um, Kitty cats, if you can handle the mouth and use a little finger brush on the teeth, fabulous if you can brush teeth. um and then chewing on things. So with the healthy food, you can do things like your meaty bones, like chicken, the chicken wings, the tips, and the chicken feet, and all that gross stuff that they can chew on. That really helps the teeth. And you can start that early with the kittens so they actually enjoy it, because as they get older, they look at this stuff and they're like, what is this?
Yes.
But I mean,
Yes.
if you think about it in the wild, they're killing birds and mice and chewing on the bones and the tail and the feet, and that helps the teeth.
Yes.
So we can
Yeah.
still give them that there. I think All Provide has little meaty bones like that, like the chicken feet and stuff.
Yes. Yes. I've also heard that the just the enzymes in meat alone will help break down some of the tartar. But yes, that like, where they have to get it in the back teeth and they're really chomping down, which
Yep.
is also, one of the fallacies of kibble and even like the larger size kibble, like the quote unquote dental ones,
Mhm.
that's going to break off any
Yeah, just the
tartar.
mechanical. Yeah, we used to tell people that kibble cleans the teeth because it's crunchy and it scrapes the teeth, and it doesn't. It does the opposite.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's definitely an old wives' tale, is
Yes.
the hard food. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I'm trying to see. I think I've addressed most of it. The last one is more on a personal note, and we have discussed it briefly, but if you already have older cats in your household, how old is too old to introduce a kid?
It depends on the cat. I mean, too old could be a 5-year-old cat that doesn't tolerate a new body in the house. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's just cat related, because you could have a 15-year-old cat that's cool with it and just, just likes to watch the cat play, and helps that cat be more alert and on top of things and have something to do to watch the little kitty, as long as the kitty's not harassing it. But they usually let them know that, cats are good at letting the other cat know that they're not going to tolerate what they're doing. And as long as the kitten catches on pretty quick, then they can get along fine.
Yeah.
But some older cats, and even not so old cats, won't tolerate a new kitten because they want to be the only one. That's just their personality. And sometimes you can get a cat and just hope that they will cohabitate and no one will kill each other.
Yes.
They'll have their own territories and just be in the same household, but they won't be good friends.
Yes.
It's all very individual based on their personalities.
Yes. So Rags was my childhood cat that I grew up with, and when he was 15, we were looking to get another cat. I was still living with my parents at the time, and a breeder suggested at that time you need to get two kittens so they'll play with one another and leave Rags alone. And it was the best advice we got
Mm-hmm.
because that's exactly what happened. Rags was able to engage with them when he wanted to. And then they left him alone when he wanted to sleep and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
I think that was great.
that's a good idea, because then they have each other. Because it's good to have a buddy of your
Yes.
same species or similar species. It's good to have a buddy.
Yes. Uh, one other thing, before I ask you, did I miss anything, is with your puppy, do you do anything proactively other than feed, a nutritionally complete diet? Are you tackling anything immune system wise? Like, is there any need to go after those sort of things if the puppy or cat is healthy?
No, no. If you've, like, the puppy I got, eh, didn't have had just one vaccine, like didn't get over vaccinated, no over pesticides. Like, this is a pretty clean puppy and very healthy, has been vet checked by a vet other than me.
Oh, really? Why did you do that?
The person that had him did.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just got him 2 days ago. So he was all looked at already and taken care of and dewormed. Um, and so with a healthy pet, a healthy kitten or puppy, it's you don't have to throw supplements at them, because supplements are not going to take the place of a healthy diet. So your diet is going to be your foundation.
Okay.
And some people think that they can feed crappy food and then add supplements for the immune system, and that doesn't work. You
Yeah.
you can't supplement a bad diet. You have to feed a nice healthy diet and then take care of their emotional needs and their physical needs. So activities and mental stimulation, that's immune system support.
Yes.
If
Yes.
they have issues, if they've had like a cold or something and maybe that they have, herpes virus and they came with that, then you're going to do a little bit more. And so,
Okay.
something like standard process, whole body support and immune support for kitties, they have a kitty line. You would add something like that to the food.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That answers my question. I wondered if there's any reason to do additional supplementation, but if they don't have anything going on, then no.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, as long as you take care of all their needs, healthy diet, exercise, emotional needs, your social stuff and things in the house to do and all their instincts. Yeah, you just have to there's a lot to do still, but it's
Yeah.
not like you have to give them supplements.
Yes. Yes. Because I'm on a supplement every day routine right now, and so that's what made me wonder about it, and how freeing it would be not to have that going on. Um, so something else I wanted to address that I don't think that we did is I really think that if you're planning on getting a new kitten, to be plan on being around. Like don't have any plans to go on a trip for a month or anything like that. Would you agree
Right.
with that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you
Okay.
have to kind of live your life around the cat, especially when they're young. If you want
Yes.
if you want to bond with your cat and have a nice um emotionally stable cat, you have to take care of their emotional needs as a kitten. So absolutely.
Yes.
And that's easier now for people because a lot of people work from home.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
nice.
It is nice.
Yeah, so yeah, I wouldn't do big trips if you're going to get a kitten because then that can be traumatizing and they don't
Yeah.
get that.
Right. Yes. Um, is your new puppy nearby? Can we meet him?
It's our puppy. Will you grab him? Oh, he's sleeping, but my son is going to try to pick him up and bring
Okay.
him over. So
Thank you.
my son and I were walking our dogs, and we were talking about fostering dogs, like out of the blue. I was like, maybe we should foster a dog. And
Oh,
on the way,
oh my God.
our neighbor said, "Hey, we've got a couple of dogs we're fostering. You want a shepherd puppy?" And we have two shepherd and shepherd mixed puppy or dogs. And my
Yes,
son
I saw one of them.
and my
Yeah.
son is like, he looked at me with that look, and he's like, "The universe just answered our question about fostering a dog." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Oh
So
my gosh, she's
isn't
fantastic.
he funny? He's a shepherd
Yes.
with a little bit. He's mostly shepherd, but he's got lab in him. Isn't he
Oh
darling?
man, all I see is lab, and I was
I
raised with
know.
shepherds. Yeah. Huh.
So
Hello. And what's
uh
his name?
this is Nash.
Hi, Nash.
This is Nash.
He's
And
beautiful.
he's so good. He's 8 weeks old and um
Oh,
he's almost potty trained. Like he whines when he's got to go outside and he's just really good.
that's great.
Yeah. And
Oh,
I'm on him like a mama. It's like
yeah,
I watch him. Yeah, he's really good. And
that's
our
a
dog
great name too.
Ash, yeah, our dogs finally calmed down because they were like, "What is this?" Now they've decided that they love him.
I think that they're like super mellow at 8 weeks, and then I think they become hellions at 12.
Yeah.
Is that?
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure this is the calm before the storm. But I actually take him back to my neighbors for playtime with his sister. So he gets,
Oh,
which is fabulous because they were like, "Oh,
yes.
you can bring him back anytime for play." And I was like, "Thank you." So yesterday I took him over there for a couple hours for playtime. And I think that's great for both of them. This,
Yes.
is to have someone they know that they can, rough and tumble with. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
and I do think dogs are better at 8 weeks to bring home, but cats, I don't feel like they learn like that biting hurts and all of that from their mom and siblings until 12 weeks. Like I don't want a cat before they're 12 weeks old.
well, if possible, but most
Yeah.
breeders are going to sell them before 12 weeks and they're going to be in
Yeah.
shelters way before then. So, yeah,
Yes.
in an ideal world, yes, we should be getting puppies and kittens at 10 to 12 weeks. And they should be with their siblings and their parents for that psychological and emotional and social um, learning.
Yes. Oh, it's-
But you get what you get, and you just have to act like the mama and
yeah.
redirect, nicely. And that's what, we use soft voices with him and just redirect, and the plan is to get him involved in some sports. And you can actually do kitty sports too. Like there are kitty sports out there. I don't know how many people do them, but we're going to do some frisbee and duck diving with this guy. That's the plan.
Oh, good. I'll send you on
Yeah.
Instagram. My sister does dock diving with her
Oh,
German
cool.
short-haired pointer. Yeah, she loves it. And he does too. So I'll send you that. Anything that I didn't cover that you think we should cover?
Um, no, I think we covered everything. And
Okay.
so, holistically, I mean, this is kind of a holistic viewpoint, with the limited vaccines and the fresh food diets, but it's it's rational. And if you have an older kitty and you run into problems and your vet can't figure it out, or the conventional Western stuff isn't working, then you have to go back and look holistically. And people like me can help with that,
Yes.
with consults. And um, if someone is having problems, I mean, sometimes people just call me for kitten advice, and I go through all the things we went through and then whatever other questions they have specifically about their kitten. But a lot of cats get adopted and they have problems, and people want to address the problems holistically. And so that's where I come in. So I can, based on what the cat's problem is, like the hyperesthesia that that your cat had, um, we can address that holistically, because conventionally there really isn't anything for that.
Yes. Other than
Yeah.
band-aids that don't cure.
Right. Yep.
Yes.
So holistically we can resolve things, whereas conventionally they manage illness. They don't resolve it.
Okay. I like how you said that. Okay.
Yeah.
So if I have a new kitten, I've taken it to the vet. We've done fecal tests, we've done everything, but we cannot resolve diarrhea. Is that something that you could help me with?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Because um sometimes there are more specialized tests that your vet can run that they haven't. And so what I do is I'll look at the kitty cat's records or whatever you've done so far and see if there's something missing. Because a lot of times there are tests that we can run that haven't been run, that are
Okay.
not, non-invasive tests. And then we'll also work on whatever the underlying issue is, you know.
Got it. Okay. Yes, I think that you're an excellent resource for so many things, but especially for something like hyperesthesia or just a weird thing that you can't figure out, and you know that with Charlie's hyperesthesia, I was like, I know that this doesn't have to be his life. Like I know that I don't have to wait for him to die to get better.
Mm.
Um,
Or put him
so
on phenobarbital for the rest of his life, which
yes,
is your conventional option, is to just drug him,
yes,
which
yes,
doesn't
or
cure it.
gabapentin. And
Yeah,
when 100 milligrams a day isn't working, then you up it to 200 milligrams. Yeah, it's
yeah,
just, yes.
yeah. That's not a life. So we
Yeah.
need these guys to have a life. And sometimes the issues are emotional, and your conventional vet's not going to address that.
Yes. Right. Yeah. That was like count to 10, Jenny, and don't say anything you'll regret. That was that deep breath. Well, thank you again, Nash. You are
Ew.
beautiful. I really want to pet you.
He's a cutie. He's got a nice personality.
Yes, sweetheart. Um, thank you. And oh, I did have one more question.
Okay.
Do you have any cat stories from Costa Rica? And how long were you in Costa Rica again?
I was in Costa Rica for 3 months,
Okay.
and there aren't very many cats in Costa Rica because they don't last long in the jungle. So the little kitten that was at the chocolate cafe. So there's a chocolate cafe down the street to where I was working, and he got a little kitten. And he came out one morning, and the kitten was wrapped up in a boa constrictor, or the boa constrictor was wrapped around the kitten, squeezing its head. And he got the boa constrictor off the kitten, and the eye was damaged, and called my friend that's a vet in town. And thank goodness he got there because the cat would have been a meal.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so there aren't very many cats. There are a few here and there, but if they wander into the jungle, or even not, I mean, this was just right at the cafe, they get eaten. So that's my cat story for Costa Rica, the little kitten that almost got eaten by the boa constrictor. And that's
Yeah.
actually a big problem. Like at the wildlife rescue I was at when I first got there, they found one of the scarlet macaws dead in the cage. And we had to do a necropsy on it to find out why it died, because this is like a program where they are releasing the macaws into the wild in Costa Rica. And what we determined is it was squeezed by a boa constrictor that had gotten in. But what boa constrictors do is they'll kill something to eat and then realize it's too big to put in their mouth, and then they just leave it. And that's what happened to this guy. And I'm like, that's horrible. But
Yes.
those are the kind of things that happen in the jungle.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
And then there was
And
one kitty at the rescue center named Trippy, a little black cat named Trippy. Um, and he just hung around the rescue, and then he'd sneak in into the bunk rooms with people. So he didn't really wander too much in the jungle. So he was pretty protected, and he wasn't supposed to be there, but no one said anything.
are the boa constrictors like very visible? Like it's like, oh, there's another one.
No,
Okay.
no. They hide. In fact, we had a boa constrictor in the rescue center that was injured because in Costa Rica, people will like when they go through hiking trails and clear the trail, they'll use machetes to
Yes.
clear the trail. And someone had cleared something and hit a boa constrictor in the head with the machete. And so we had this, and it actually they got the jaw too. So it had a broken jaw and a gash in the head that like went through the bone, like it was bad. Um, and we repaired the jaw, and everything healed up here. But the boa constrictor was still not right. Like neurologically, he never recovered the whole time I was there, because we wanted to release him, but he just wasn't right. Like he couldn't climb like he should. So they're kind of hidden in the foliage, and
Yes.
so you don't necessarily see them coming. They're pretty sneaky.
Interesting. And that kitten that the eye popped out, what's the solution for that?
Well,
Do
it
you
was just bulging and swollen and bruised. So they just did, warm compresses and ointment, and the cat did fine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
The little kitten recovered.
Good. Good. Is it, how do you process that macaw thing? That why would Mother Nature do that where you're killing something but then it doesn't fit?
I know it's ridiculous, isn't it? I don't know. I don't know how I process that.
Okay.
Like,
Like that sounds like something humans would do.
I know
Like,
it's,
yeah,
if they're just, they just, maybe that he was just in that location and that was what he planned to eat. I don't know.
yeah.
Who knows?
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the first things I saw, and I was like, well, that's kind of gross. It should have at least eaten it.
Yes, yes. Oh man. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing those things. I bet it's fascinating down there.
Yep, it's never a dull moment.
Yes. A little bit different wildlife than you would find here. So,
Yep, very
yes.
different. Very
Yeah.
different.
Neat.
All
Well,
right.
thank you also for your work doing that.
Thanks, Jenny. All right.
Welcome. Okay.
All right.
Well,
I think it's
until
time
next
for
time.
something with him.
And
He's whining at me, so I better get him outside.
yes, he wants your necklace. Time to play. Get it, Nash. Get it. All right. Thank you again.
All right, Jenny,
I
I'll talk to you later.
okay, I'll be in touch. Bye.
Okay, bye.